Live from New York. It's a show that's counting down our trip to New Orleans. We only have 2 more shows in this studio. Then we're headed to Louisiana. Are we going to hang out there or no?
I told you, I have reservations, dinner reservations for us.
At what time?
9
You and
o'clock
I are
when
not-
regular
This is
people
not
eat.
the first I've heard of that.
9 o'clock.
The dinner reservation.
9 o'clock?
What
Yeah.
night?
All the nights, guys. We're set up. Dinner,
9.
a little
Not
craps.
eating at 9 p.m.
Come on, maybe a show.
A show?
We're in New Orleans, top 4 city in the country. True.
Okay. What do you expect from a motivated Luka?
So I think the premise is flawed. I think that the Dallas Mavericks made a trade that everyone across the league was shocked by. They got back a superstar and a nice role player and a first-round pick, and everyone's like, you didn't get nearly enough. The league is angry that other people weren't alerted that this player was available. Mm-hmm. So having the context of, and here are the things wrong with this player, I think is flawed. I think it is buying into the Mavericks' ludicrous logic that none of us buy into. That, okay, well, listen, there's all these problems with Luka, which is why we traded him at 25 years old. I don't think Luka's a perfect player. I don't know that there is a perfect player in the league. I know that it is now just canon. Luka's wildly out of shape, and it's really hurt him. I don't know, man. He led the league in minutes last year. The guy who was second in minutes last year, Anthony Edwards, they played in a playoff series at the end of the year. When you put their numbers up, I don't know, Luka looked like he had a lot of gas. Anthony Edwards looks like he's carved of granite.
He literally said...
And Anthony Edwards said afterwards, I was exhausted. I've never played this long into a season. Mm-hmm. The next round, Luka was not, didn't play A+ basketball in the finals. If we want to say that's because he was out of shape, or do we want to say, much like Anthony Edwards, who is in peak physical condition, that any player, the first time with a 90-game, 100-game season, whatever it is, it can be a lot. Most guys in their first finals are not up to their peak performance. It's quite rare. So I just don't buy it. Do I think Luka could do more to be in better shape? It's unclear. Do I think that he needs to improve that part for his career longevity? Absolutely. Do I, though, also think that if Luka changed nothing from last year to this year, he's one of the 3 best players in the world and a guy who in and of himself makes you at least a fringe contender? Yes. So I think that, Brew, you are going to get a chip on your shoulder, Luka, but I think it is insulting to Luka to ask as if without that chip on his shoulder, he was going down the Zion path. And I don't mean to pick on Zion, but that's the way he's been discussed the last couple days. Like, he's 270 pounds, and no, they're worried about him, and the guy might have a drinking problem and all this stuff, and I just think that's unfair. That's what I think.
I said yesterday, and I stand by it, this is insulting. This trade was insulting.
I totally agree.
And they did him wrong in that you're trading a player of this caliber with no notice, all right, and you cost them $100 million.
Yes.
You cost them $100 million, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, that said, everything else, they did Luka a favor.
Okay.
They did Luka a solid. You sent him to the glamour franchise of the NBA. You sent him to play next to a player who could teach him everything he needs to know to get to the next level, and he's already right there at the top. All right? And you gave him the motivation. He said motive. He meant motivation to go out and do all the things you said he doesn't.
Sure.
If there is a competitive bone in his body, if he really has the dog in him that you need to have when you're as good as he is, that all these players that we think he could get to have, then we're going to see the best Luka Dončić we've ever seen. And I'm not just necessarily saying next week or whenever he comes back, but he should be better. You should be motivated to go out there and work on your defense. And look, Luka will never be a lockdown defender like LeBron was in his prime, or Jordan, or anybody like that. But all he has to do is just be locked in mentally and be communicative, talk defensively, make sure you're in the right spot, keep your man in front of you to the degree that you can. That's it. That's all that you're looking for. Steph's not locking anybody up. Steve Nash was not locking anybody up, but
the
they were
current best
smart
player
defenders.
in the league is not locking anybody out.
But
Nikola
they're
Jokic.
just smart, and you're in the right place, and you talk to your teammates. So that's all you need from Luka. And I'm telling you, if somebody did that to me, they're saying you can't win, dude.
Yeah.
There's no other reason you would trade him. You can't win. You're not going to lead us to the promised land.
And can I?
So you got to be motivated.
Can I add something before you go, Wilds? This is where I think this is such a catastrophic error. Even if Nico Harrison was going to be right, he's now going to be wrong. And by that I mean this. Even if Nico Harrison had a literal crystal ball and said, and they showed him, if you give Luka this 5-year, $345 million, all of his whatever bad habits there are going to be exacerbated. You know, the stuff that is a problem that I think is a fair criticism about him with the refs and getting in his own head, it's going to be even worse. He's never, and if this calf problem is going to balloon into real, potential Achilles, that's going to happen. Therefore, you need to trade him. I'm showing you the future. Well, now, because of everything Bruce said, it's going to look like I see no scenario where whatever, and I think they are far more minor than they are being blown out to be right now. But issues between Luka right now and being the third best player in basketball and a guy trending towards first ballot Hall of Fame and getting to his true potential, which is multiple MVPs, a top 10 all-time guy, I think he has the potential to be one of the 4 greatest offensive players in league history. I've said that to you. We've talked about it just from the pure offensive end. Well, now he has a legit chip on his shoulder. Right. We have never seen a player of this caliber at this age, a team say, not worth it. And so I think that for the Mavs, that's why it's such a catastrophe is even if you were going to be right, I think now Luka will prove you wrong. And so but I also just don't think, I think it is insulting to act as if, and I don't know if you disagree with me, that if Luka changed nothing, he wasn't going to be worth a full max over the next 3 to 5 years. We just saw him have the best year of his career. He just had the best year of his career from an individual and team success standpoint.
Well, that's the best argument for you is that it wasn't like they weren't having team success.
Right.
That's the thing. You couldn't just say, oh, yeah, he's putting up numbers, but we're going out in the first round every year. No, 3 years ago they got to the conference finals. Last year they're in the finals.
Every year was in the right trajectory except for 2 years ago when they traded for Kyrie and things went awry and they tanked the end of the year. Yeah. Every other year it was like, this makes sense. One step, next step, conference finals, NBA finals. What, KW?
I'm still confused. I'm actually more confused now than I was when I woke up and saw the news. And we talked about it during the commercial break to try to get into Nico Harrison's head. And Brew and I were saying there's an element of bravery to this where he's a GM, he's got a superstar, even if it just played out and they were constantly making and it was a little bit of
that's what he said.
Annoyance.
He said if I did nothing, I would have been applauded.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So there's but I don't know, to look at the criticism that he's received, there's nobody sticking up for him. There's no one saying, you know what? I can see it. This is a savvy move by Nico.
Well, there are some people that think the Mavs are going to be awesome this year.
And look, I think the Mavs will be good.
Yeah. For this, but then you lost all this.
Yeah, I mean, you have a small window. You traded for a 32-year, Anthony Davis will be 32 in a few months, or maybe a few weeks. Kyrie's about to be 33. Your window is small, and those are guys that have been injury prone.
Yeah.
So you do have a short window, which he said. He said 3 to 4 years. I think it's more like 2 to 3. I said 1 to 2 yesterday, but it's not a big window. They have to get it done. I do think they'll be good, and I think the people sticking up for Nico is like saying, look, I think the Mavericks are going to be good this year, and they will be. But you have to win it. Because you got there last year.
Got there.
Just getting there and losing is like,
sprained
why do we have
ankle
to give
away
up
from.
Luka?
It's just such a wild move.
Yeah,
One guy twists his ankle or just lands wrong, and
listen. I'm not acting as if that the right move for teams is to placate their superstars in every way, shape, and form. I think you saw Miami take a hard line with LeBron and turned him into the best. Right, but it also, LeBron became his fully formed version of himself. The Mavericks appeared to go out of their way to alienate Luka, and that's the story that hasn't been written. They fired all his people. He had the quote on the record after they traded, I think, Dorian away, and they were like, yeah, they get rid of everyone I'm friends with. And the Lakers, on the other hand, at today's press conference, Pelinka made sure to shout out everyone by name of Luka's body team and people or whatever it is. It really did seem like and again, I'm not there and I don't know Nico at all, and no one has reported it firsthand. This wasn't a sudden thing. This was a multiple moves over the last 12 months, as opposed to putting their arms around their superstar to isolate him, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
I don't think they tried you painting it like they purposely kind of went at Luka. I don't think it was that. I think it was just seeing him, for lack of a better term, take advantage of the situation. They just tired of look, we saw the Clippers have placated Kawhi in every aspect, and it hasn't gotten them anything. San Antonio, obviously a championship organization, did not do that. It cost them Kawhi, but there are franchises, and a lot of them winning, Miami, San Antonio, where they are like, we need you to be motivated on your own. Yeah. Like Tim Duncan, Popovich always said, he let me coach him. That's a Tim Duncan decision to let you coach him, and that's the type of player you want to build.
But it seems like Kid loved Luka. It seemed like Kid loved him. It really does seem like, for good or for bad, I always think it's going to be for bad. This was not the Dallas Mavericks did not make this decision. Nico Harrison made this decision. And he owned it, and he gave wild quotes yesterday. He was like, yeah, Pelinka thought I was kidding. Like, hey, ready? He's going to like all this stuff.
He knew he had ownership behind him, which is, that's what you need.
I would have kept that one in the He was shocked I was even mentioning it. All right, Luka.
He thought I was nuts.
Luka talked about being paired with one of his childhood idols, and now teammate LeBron James. Who is under more pressure to make this work, LeBron or Luka?
To me, it's easily Luka. Like, LeBron, there's no pressure on LeBron anymore. LeBron has done everything he could do, right? He's, by virtually everybody's estimation, he's one of the two best players ever, all right? He has won his championships in 3 different places. Like, everything LeBron could do is gravy at this point, icing on the cake. Luka, on the other hand, has to win. Now, what if LeBron decides to stay with the Lakers for 2 more years after this?
And Dave McMenamin opened that door yesterday. He said that Dave McMenamin reported, we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but there's a possibility LeBron opts out and extends at a lower number to be able to add other things, depending, you know what I mean, if this goes really well.
I mean, a championship at 40, 41, whatever it would be, is just icing on the cake for LeBron. For Luka, though, let's use that scenario. LeBron stays there 2 more years after this, so basically 3 years with you. Luka has to start winning championships. Like, every player that is this caliber, at some point the pressure becomes, okay, when you going to win it? That drove Durant to Golden State. That drove LeBron to Miami. Jokic has won his. Giannis has won his. Jason Tatum now has won a championship. Like, the other guys kind of on your level, or Tatum even maybe below, have won. It is on you, and now it's not only on you because, hey, you're such a great player, we expect you to win the title. It's on you because your label now, he can't win. That's your label. Dallas actually traded you because they bet you can't win.
Dallas
and
put
so
that label.
That label is now attached to you.
It's not fair.
So every year he can win MVP, and he hasn't even won it yet, but he can win MVP. He can put up all the great numbers that he always has, but until he wins the championship, It's like Lamar Jackson kind of. It's going to hover over your head because now it's even worse because that label is attached to you unlike any other player in the league.
All right. Everything Brew just said there is correct. That was a good 2-minute example as to why I think that as much as I love talking football on this show and with Brew, Brew still remains the best basketball commentator in the world. But the answer is LeBron. because
LeBron?
because I already see the memes. I already see it.
What?
Here's the Hall of Fame players LeBron James played with and didn't win. Here's the again, people aren't always fair. They'll give LeBron prime Carmelo and prime Dwight and prime Rondo, which he didn't have, and now he does have prime Luka, but he's 40, and they'll be like,
the thing.
you know what and it'll be, how much, can he? Oh, does he need more help? Oh, the guy needs more help. He has Luka Dončić. Can he get more help? For smart people, everything Bruce said is correct. For most people talking about basketball who are not smart people, it'll be him. And so it is, figuratively, or I guess in LeBron's case, kind of literally, heavy is the head that wears the crown. As he is right now, I think, a bit of a victim of his own sustained excellence.
That's right.
Because it's not just, if he were still playing, but doesn't have to be late stage Tim Duncan, but was visually and clearly a greatly diminished self.
Late Vince.
Yeah, and was like, okay.
Late Vince.
But say he was 18 a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a
clear,
good.
not even close to where you
right. But the fact that the night of the trade, he played on the road against a team that could go to the finals and was the best player on the court.
Yeah, right.
Because of that, people
that's a good
still
point.
kind of hold him to, I think, a ludicrous standard because he is who he is and he can still ramp up to that. So this will be, like, if they lose in round one, which if they don't, Pelinka at the press conference today made it seem like, man, our moves are coming in the offseason. Like, it's going to be hard to really add in the next 2 days, which, by the way, I'll sharpen those Pelinka knives quickly again.
Take off that leather jacket.
They'll be an underdog in any playoffs, like in their first playoff
They
series.
can't lose round one. They can't lose round one.
But
if you're a top 5 player, you can't just go out in round one if you're wearing a Lakers jersey.
So you're saying,
It's on Luka not to lose round one.
So you're with the Luka answer?
Yes, 100%. He cannot go out round one. I don't care. You cannot go out round one if you're Luka Dončić.
I agree, but I'm telling you, if they go out in round one, the bottom line on shows, maybe not ours, but most, will have LeBron's name listed before Luka's. It will be about LeBron and about, whether or not he should have made it work or whatever it is. I actually think the team's going to be really good. And not struggling constitute to win a championship, but I wouldn't expect them to lose in round one. But it's always LeBron. Like LeBron has the burden until he retires or until he's not a Laker.
It's really interesting. That'll be an interesting thing to see who kind of is the face of the team. Even though Luka's better at this point, will it still be LeBron? That's interesting to me. And I agree. I've said it even when we do the Jordan stuff, like, what's this 22nd year for LeBron?
Yeah.
Like, that's where, to your point about him being a victim of his own greatness, if he has 24 really good years in the NBA, but then you say, well, he only won 4 championships, whereas Jordan won 6 and 15 years, that is an argument kind of against him. But then you could turn it and say, but the longevity.
24 great years.
Yeah,
24
I know. That's
great
right.
years.
That's great, too.
And
that's
so,
24 great years. All right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.